good morning.
Martin var Callum, Camera how?
And Madding vat to you, Cameron how Hain.
Gleba.
Oh, good, very good. It's great to speak to you, Ian. Thanks for being here. Let's consider John Swinney and his career and indeed his departure. This is a real changing of the guard at this point, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I have to say I'm very saddened to see John standing down. He has been a feature in Scottish politics for a long time, actually the longest serving Scottish parliamentarian. I've actually known John since the late 1970s when the two of us joined the SNP in West Edinburgh. So I've seen his journey. Started off in the youth movement of the SNP, became the Assistant National Secretary. It's been a long time when he's been at the front line of Scottish politics. And I think being a great support to whoever has been First Minister for the SNP, and really he's been an integral part of the success of the Scottish Government, working alongside Nicola Sturgeon, someone who's an absolute workaholic. And I have to say that I've benefited very much from his wise counsel over the course of the years as well. He's, I think, often referred to quite warmly, even by political opponents, for the way that he conducts himself. So, I think I today would want to pay tribute to what he's achieved in his political life, and wish him all the best as he does what I've done and return to the back benches. And I know that he'll have more time to spend with his wife and children, which will be important as well.
Would you be eligible to become the next deputy leader?
No, no, because this is Deputy First Minister. It's not the deputy.
Of course, yeah, good point.
So it's an appointment of the First Minister. So I guess whoever becomes First Minister at the end of March is going to face that decision as to who they wish to see as their deputy. It's a key role.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things about the way that John has played this, of course, he's had several roles: Education Minister, Finance Minister. He's standing in as Finance Minister just now. But he really played a massive role in supporting Nicola as we came through COVID and making sure that we had the recovery from COVID as well. He is, if I may say so, something of a fixer behind the scenes as well. So he's
that sounds intimidating, Ian.
No, it's not meant to be intimidating.
Right, okay. Just checking.
He does it in a helpful and in a collegiate way, if I can do it that way, Callum.
That's reassuring to hear. Just on the leadership contest then, and you have declared your support for Humza Yousaf to be the next leader of the SNP and therefore First Minister as well. Scotland's former First Minister, though, Alex Salmond, has told Sky News that Humza Yousaf skipped a key vote on gay marriage due to religious pressure. Humza Yousaf is the Health Secretary right now. He denied deliberately setting up a diary clash weeks in advance. Can you untangle for us this morning who's telling the truth on this?
Well, I think what you see is Alex Salmond as a former member of the SNP trying to stir the pot to some extent, isn't he? Joe Fitzpatrick, who had responsibility for all of this within the SNP as a business manager effectively, has made it clear that at no point was there a request for Humza to be slipped from voting on this. He's voted in stage one of that bill when it went through Parliament. He's put out a statement reaffirming his support for gay marriage, for equality, for everybody throughout Scotland. And I think the matter should rest there, Callum. I think he's answered those questions.
Right, okay. This line from Salmond was due to religious pressure. That was the line. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think, look, at the end of the day, when you go back to what was happening with this bill, of course, many people would have been lobbied by various different groups, and I don't think Humza would have been any different from anyone else. But at the end of the day, this was a manifesto commitment by the SNP. I'm proud of the fact that we passed this legislation, and let's remember that Humza has supported that at the time and has continued to support that legislation since then.
We mentioned, just in the context of Mr. Swinney's departure or imminent departure, that this feels like a kind of changing of the guard really for the SNP. Does that fill you with enthusiasm? Because at this point there are quite a lot of shadows hanging over the party. Whether that is by way of their record in Scotland, their governing record, or whether that is by way of this from Private Eye, which has been looking at that £600,000 that was donated for Indie Ref 2. And Private Eye suggests that Police Scotland have taken detailed statements from Nicola Sturgeon, her husband, Peter Murrell, who also happens to be the chief executive of the party, and the SNP treasurer, Colin Beesey. This is quite a shadow that the party needs to emerge out from under.
Yeah, well, look, first and foremost, Callum, and I absolutely acknowledge that it's an important moment in the history of the SNP. I mean, you saw at the last election, Mike Russell stood down, Rosanna Cunningham, John and Nicola are coming off the front bench. I stood down. So there's a number of us that have been around. Actually, a lot of us have been around since the late 70s, early 80s. I think one of the encouraging things, I hope for whoever becomes leader, that there are a number of us that are passionate about the party, passionate about Scottish independence, and will be there to assist as required. We're all, if you want, becoming elder statespeople in the SNP. But let the police conclude their investigation. They've been asked to do that. They, of course, have every right to question whoever they deem to be appropriate as part of this investigation. And I look forward to this whole process coming to an end.
Do you know when it was that they took that statement from Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, and her husband, the Chief Executive of the SNP?
No, I don't. I haven't discussed these matters with them.
Right. Does it concern you that this is the state your party is in?
I think all of us have to be open to scrutiny, Callum. And we're going through this process that there's an examination as to what happened in the giving of those funds. It's right and proper that takes place, and let's wait to see what happens when this investigation is brought to a conclusion.
If your favoured candidate, Humza Yousaf, should win this contest, should he commit now to opening the SNP books, the accounts, for inspection, for transparency, so that we can all see what on earth was going on?
There are procedures for that already. I was
should he commit to transparency, a new era?
So let me just kind of walk you through that, because having been the treasurer of the SNP, I used to report to the National Executive Committee. The accounts were fully open. Of course, there's the role of the Electoral Commission as well. I think it is important that political parties, all of us in public office, are as transparent as we can be. I think, of course, we should always look at our governance to see if things can be enhanced in any way. And I'm sure that these are matters that any First Minister would take very, very seriously. Let's make sure that we're above suspicion in all these matters.
Thank you so much for watching. You get extra points for making it all the way to the end of the video.
And if you want to see more from me, Chloe and Callum, you can join us every Friday to Sunday on Times Radio from 6 a.m.